The headlines, the issues impacting you and your family. This week in Cincinnati on WCPO 9.
Welcome, everyone. We do hope you're having a good weekend. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. During this half hour, we're going to take a look at some of the most impactful stories WCPO 9 News covered this week for you. First up, who has the internet? Who doesn't? Name a 20-something person in your life who grew up without internet. They do exist, and some are at risk. Without high-speed connections at home, they're falling so far behind their peers. To take a closer look at the conversation surrounding internet and rural parts of our area, reporter Larry Seward this week introduced us to two women skeptical of the government's attempts to make life better.
On Butler County's northwest edge.
I don't even get hardly any cellular
A midsummer freeze
service out there where I live either.
Is the tip of a virtual iceberg forcing Jamie Burton on the road, commuting 30 minutes every weekday to her mom's place to work from home.
It's not even a quarter of a mile from my home that they have Spectrum service. I have contacted them numerous times, and I was told that I was too far from the service site to connect my house, that it wasn't feasible for them.
So the day Ohio Governor Mike DeWine signed House Bill 2 and told us at least $250 million was coming to make high-speed broadband reality for Ohioans going without, Burton emailed us for help, and we're not letting this drop. We'll be following up to find out when and if this community is finally connected and the tax dollars spent on high-speed broadband for those without is making a difference in Cincinnati's rural communities. We also heard from Pamela Shanklin, mom of two 20-somethings in Brown County near Williamsburg. How's the internet?
We have none, unless you count our phones.
None.
None.
Outside of satellite, Spectrum is their only internet provider, and they want a staggering amount of money.
They wanted $14,610 to run the cables back to my house. And I asked them, I was like, okay, so if I put it in and if I pay for it, do I own the cable? No. So you can get anybody else back here once I run it and get extra money. How's that fair?
Spectrum gave us no interview or statement, but even with $106 million for network expansion from the FCC's Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, construction costs still keep service from some customers. Often the distance between homes and existing networks is a problem. Shanklin's connected neighbors live less than 500 feet off the main road. Her family's 11-acre home for 3 generations is 2,200 feet away.
It's worrisome, my kids aren't going to want to live here if they can't have the ability to, get online.
I can't. It's really difficult to do my job without internet.
Shanklin's 28-year-old son Garth, a sports reporter who files stories from his car through cell phones, grew up using AOL dial-up and is fed up.
My first real exposure to internet was my freshman year of college. I never understood how we could be so close and yet somehow still so far from the world.
I've called Spectrum, I've called the FCC. They told me that they're not required to run it to everybody. Which, what am I supposed to do? I did email the governor my situation. I know he's probably got tons of emails, so I'm sure I'll hear from him eventually.
But I'm like, what's the holdup? I don't understand.
We emailed Governor DeWine's head of broadband strategy, who told us public bidding for state funds to bring Shanklin, Burton, and other options will not happen overnight. Already, they have pilot programs running in Middletown, where the school district found a group called PCs for People willing to build a low-cost network of antennas capable of broadcasting high-speed connections to neighbors. Lieutenant Governor John Husted told us there are similar pilot programs running around the state. They're also exploring the use of Starlink, Elon Musk's new satellite service. But that comes with a $500 price tag for setup for each customer.
I thank you for bringing attention to this.
State House representatives for both women told us the state budget is sending relief at familiar speeds.
Is there anything you can do to help her?
I'm being told that they're hoping to get the application process up and running in August and have the first awards of that process by January.
Representative Thomas Hall expects fierce competition from county commissions and townships statewide, fighting to win funding to pay companies to build what Burton and Shanklin are missing.
I don't know where the line falls, who's the responsible party that needs to step up to the plate and get these connections made.
Larry Seward, WCPO 9 News.
Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley this week officially announced he is running for Ohio governor. Cranley's interest in the state's highest office has been an open secret for months. Cranley will face Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley in the Democratic primary. She announced her candidacy months ago. The election for governor isn't until next year. WCPO 9 News will cover the race extensively for you. Investigative reporter Paula Christian talked with Cranley on a one-on-one interview.
The rest of Ohio can expect to hear a lot about Cincinnati in the coming year as John Cranley crisscrosses the state trying to increase his name recognition. But the big question is, can a moderate Democrat win a red-leaning state like Ohio?
For the better part of 20 years, Cranley has served Cincinnati, first as a city councilman and then as a two-term mayor. He is term limited from running for mayor again. Now he's hoping to lead the state as governor, using his success in Cincinnati as a springboard.
When I ran for mayor, I said we would grow the city, and for the first time since 1950, the city's growing again. I said we would reduce poverty. We reduce poverty faster than any other part of Ohio. These are results. Ohio needs results.
Cranley wants to legalize recreational marijuana in Ohio and use the profits to fund 30,000 high-paying jobs. Also to invest in education, fix roads and bridges, expand high-speed broadband internet across the state, and add clean water initiatives. He is also proposing a $500 dividend to all Ohio families each year, taken from natural gas profits.
I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. Everybody wants hope. They want a better Ohio for their kids and grandkids.
Cranley talked specifically about the coal industry, which is the subject of a year-long I-Team series, Closed and Undisclosed. Ohio is retiring more coal plants than any other state in the nation, including several in the tri-state area. Vistra Energy announced in June that it will close the Zimmer plant near Moscow 5 years early, in May of 2022. That will cut 150 jobs and cost villages and school districts in Claremont County millions in tax revenue.
The people in coal country in Ohio have been completely neglected.
He promised new jobs for out-of-work coal workers in the clean energy or natural gas sectors.
We will become an energy independent state when I'm governor by investing in clean energy, wind and solar, and embracing natural gas.
While Cranley is a household name in Southwest Ohio, he is not well known in the rest of the state, so he will be crisscrossing Ohio in the coming months. But he says he won't be an absent mayor for the last months of his term.
I am committed to being the mayor that I've been for the last 8 years. I think no one's ever argued that I'm not a hands-on mayor.
Paula Christian, WCPO 9 I-Team.
Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley has been busy on the campaign trail. She just released her jobs plan. It calls for raising the Ohio minimum wage to $15 and investing in renewable energy. She also says she is laser focused on supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs who will create jobs for the future. Part of that will be called what she calls a Reinvent Ohio initiative, which will bring together banks, investors, community lenders, and others to support businesses that will prosper and create jobs in the 21st century. Next on This Week in Cincinnati, from the field of combat to the fields of agriculture, the program helping vets return to civilian life here in the tri-state. WCPO anchor Craig McKee has that in his Homefront report.
From fighting the war on terror to digging through dirt right here at home, a growing team of more than 30,000 veterans are helping one another grow America's crops, including a Mainville Army vet who hopped right into it.
Wife and I basically built everything you see here.
Dave Volkman likes dirt.
There's nothing like getting your hands out here in the dirt and making something grow.
And that thing he's growing just so happens to go into something else he really likes, beer.
As a veteran, how do you become a farmer in a hops field?
It's not the easiest thing to do. This is a pretty traditional design used by commercial hop growers.
Along with his granddaughter, Mila, Dave shows me around his different varieties of hops at Ohio Valley Hops Farm in Mainville, Ohio.
Here's one here that's actually starting to cone a little bit. You can see the shape it's taken from that to this and keep on going.
For Dave, it's a way to refocus his mind instead of sitting idle.
The years I was in the military, even as a reservist, I felt like I had two full-time jobs, my civilian job and the Army Reserve from 2001 until I retired. And I have a hard time sitting still. And when I knew I was going to have a gap and I needed something to continue doing, they would provide that purpose. And this was certainly an opportunity.
And while the opportunity presented itself, he quickly learned the work that goes into creating the key ingredient for a cold brew.
You have to become an amateur soil scientist, entomologist, phytopathologist. You better have some mechanical skills.
And the help to do a lot of it came from another veteran.
A fellow hop grower up in northern Ohio, Air Force veteran, said, "Do you know about Farmer Veteran Coalition?" And I'd never heard of it. And so I joined back then in 2013.
We're a national organization. We represent about 30,000 farmer veterans now, all across the nation and even U.S. territories, Puerto Rico, Guam, et cetera, helping veterans and active duty military pursue careers in agriculture.
The coalition is free to join and helps veterans network and raises awareness of resources available to help them succeed.
We do have a lot of our members who grew up in a farming community and are returning to family farms, but we also serve a lot of people who are just for the first time getting into farming. And there are so many questions of how do I even start?
The Farmer Veteran Coalition says that getting veterans into agriculture provides four things: purpose, opportunity, it contributes to your physical well-being and your psychological well-being. And I concur.
And some of you may have already tried Dave's hops and not even known it.
We use it in the Drinking Gourd double IPA, West Coast style double IPA, and then also the Trail Magic, which is a golden ale.
For Narrow Path Brewing Company in Loveland, they say buying local and supporting a veteran at the same time fits right in with their underlying goal.
It enables us to bring that sense of community together.
What does that taste like when you know that that hop is in, the hop that you grew is in that beer that you're drinking?
It's a fantastic feeling. It really is.
The Farmer Veteran Coalition also took over ownership of the Homegrown by Heroes program, originally started by the state of Kentucky. The label on food products certifies that what you are buying is from a veteran-owned company. You can read more about the coalition and Ohio Valley hops on WCPO.com, and you can also find out which breweries have those hops in their brews. I'll also share the information over on the Homefront Facebook group.
A demolition project became a death trap in December when the Killen power plant collapsed into Adams County, killing 2 men and badly injuring a third. The tiny village of Manchester coped with that tragedy by helping the victims' families and quietly raising questions about the company that owns the Killen plant. The WCPO 9i team spent a few days in Manchester this month. Reporter Dan Monk says residents are skeptical that Commercial Liability Partners is handling that cleanup properly.
Darren Mingy loves to fish in the mighty Ohio.
You can sit here and watch eagles eat out of the river. I seen 2 yesterday right over there.
But he doesn't like everything he sees on this river.
Well, I didn't know they was going to empty the pond.
Mingy took us by boat to this man-made floodgate where the Killen plant is permitted to discharge water from its 230 acres of ash ponds.
I guess they would call that, what, an overflow?
He also gave us this video of the same floodgate. It was taken last August when EPA records show a water pump was placed too low in the ash pond. That caused contaminated sediment to flow into the Ohio River.
Well, it looked kind of clear, but it stunk. But I can't tell you the smell of it because I've never smelled it before. You just common sense tells you, stay away from it.
Plant's owner, Commercial Liability Partners, told the EPA it violated its wastewater discharge permit in July and August only. But Mingy says the pollution continued into October when he called the EPA to complain.
It don't take a genius to knows what's in that and what it's going to do. It's really sad.
State Representative Brian Baldridge is calling on the Ohio EPA to conduct a formal inquiry into Commercial Liability Partners, saying he has serious concerns about how it's handling the cleanup here at Killen Generating Station.
I'm a less regulation person, but when it comes to safety, I mean, that's why we have regulation out there.
Baldridge said EPA officials eased some of his concerns in a meeting last Friday, but he still has unanswered questions about last summer's violations and other killing issues.
You know, we're going to make sure that they're digging into this and making sure that we're looking at all aspects of this.
Baldridge plans to talk with other Adams County leaders before deciding what his next steps will be.
I just want to make sure that we are not left with a nightmare.
Back on the river, Mingy was relieved to hear that Baldridge is on the case.
Every time you come out here, this is always on your mind.
Dan Monk, WCPO 9, I-Team.
Looking for new worlds, a one-of-a-kind hands-on history lesson makes this spot truly hidden Cincinnati. This Week in Cincinnati is coming right back. When my kids were little, we would pack a blanket and lie down on the lawn at the Cincinnati Observatory, do a little stargazing. Little did I know that this hidden Cincinnati gem was not only a place to stare into space, but one loaded with Cincinnati history. Off Observatory Avenue, at the end of Observatory Place, past a sequence of homes, you observe two buildings hiding history. And this. Wow, this is cool. This is the old telescope.
This is the old telescope.
This wooden telescope is 170 years old, the oldest telescope you can look through in the Western Hemisphere. And it sits waiting to peek at the stars under this retractable dome.
So you pull on this rope to unlock it, and then you pull on this rope to open it.
That is cool. It all started with a dream this guy, Ormsby McKnight Mitchell, had.
He went door to door asking people for 25 bucks in 1842 and 1843. And so that's like how much you'd make in a month. And he's like, I'm gonna go get us a telescope. It'll be world class. I'm gonna go to Germany. We'll bring it back here. It's gonna be awesome. And so many people signed on to this. This was the first publicly funded scientific institution in the United States.
The observatory was built in what was then called Mount Ida.
John Quincy Adams comes to Cincinnati, gives this long speech to dedicate the observatory, and afterwards the hill is renamed in his honor. And so that's where Mount Adams gets its name, because of the observatory.
But in the 1800s, the smog from the city basin covered the stars.
So they had to move the telescope to the deep, dark wilderness of a new part of town called Mount Lookout, and that's where we are today.
It's also the reason Mount Lookout got its name.
When we moved out here, the town was formed and named Mount Lookout because of all the looking out that was going to be happening. Just so cool to have it nestled in this very cool neighborhood.
Dare I say, a little bit hidden?
It was a little hidden, and we're hoping to get it out a lot more, that's for sure.
Today, the observatory is an educational institution.
So everything in here works by hand pretty much, so you can move the telescope with one finger.
Oh my gosh. Can I do it?
Push right there. Yep.
Wow.
We want to get people over here and look through the telescopes, get really excited about the history behind the place, and really just inspire people to look at the stars. Just seeing kids, families, adults get really fired up about space is just so cool.
Is it important to have this here in Cincinnati?
Oh, I think definitely. I mean, it's the inspiration that people get from this. There really is no other place like this in the country. The common phrase is, I've lived in Cincinnati my whole life and I didn't know this was here.
Shining a light on a place to gaze at the stars.
But I'm happy to say fewer and fewer people are saying that.
Are on the National Historic Register, and there's a sundial right in the center. It allows you to stand on the date. It will give you the correct time. It's pretty cool, so you should go check it all out. And then you should tell me where I should shine our next light. What's that little piece of hidden Cincinnati that others really need to know about? Email me at to'rourke@wcpo.com. Folks, that's This Week in Cincinnati for this weekend. Join us for breaking news, weather, and sports at 6 and 11 tonight on WCPO 9 News, and always updating your headlines, of course, on WCPO.com. See you tomorrow.